Right, where am I? Here I am. Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films. That was The Earth, which we got from the Oregon Archive, which ultimately came from the Mogul Brothers film library, where you could rent films. Yeah, so our 801st episode, and yesterday was great. I appreciate all the kind words and the nice donations. All that stuff was so life-affirmingly great. It confirms to me that we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going until I run out of something. Time, films, internet, whatever. So thank you for tuning in. All right. I think it's time to give attention to PE, and specifically Trampoline Fundamentals. Enjoy.
Trampolining has become one of our fastest growing sports. It's a lot of fun and it looks easy, but it takes many hours of practice to learn each trick. The basic fundamentals must be learned well if you're going to enjoy safe trampolining. Let's start at the beginning. The trampoline is made of a steel frame, a bed, usually made of nylon, and springs to give the bed its necessary bounce. The frame should always be padded for safety. The proper footwear for bouncing is trampoline shoes or plain socks. When getting on or off of the trampoline, use both hands. In landing, keep the feet about shoulder width apart. When in the air, the feet come together. Swinging the arms like this will add to the bounce. To kill the bounce, bend the knees. You'll want to learn the half twist and the full twist. Before you can learn any stunts, you must master 5 different drops: seat, knees, front or stomach drop, back drop, and corpse or flat back. Practice them many times. In the seat drop, keep the back straight. The hands should take some of the weight and should push off. The common error is to let the heels touch first. Keep the feet up so that the heels and the seat land at the same time. In the knee drop, land with the weight directly over the knees and the back straight. To learn the front drop, first lie on the bed and get the feel of the position. The hands should be slightly above the head. The feet are together. Then, from the hands and knees, bounce just enough to flatten out. Now, from a standing position. Be careful not to dive forward. Stay in the center of the trampoline. Never land on extended arms. This could be painful. The backdrop can be learned by holding an imaginary ball and kicking it. Then with both feet. The backdrop is used a great deal in advanced stunts, so it is important to learn it well. Kick up with the feet to maintain the height of the bounce. Be sure that the kick is up and not out, so that you always land in the center of the trampoline. The corpse, or flatback, is similar to the backdrop, except that the legs are extended so that the whole body lands flat. There are 3 other landing positions that are not usually considered drops: the feet, the hands and knees, and the handstand. Don't bounce too high. The fundamentals can be learned faster and more accurately by always staying close to the bed. When one stunt follows another, they are called in swing. Here are the 5 drops in swing. The next step is to combine a half twist with each of the 5 drops. Then learn to do a half twist out of the 5 drops. There are 3 aerial positions to learn: tuck, pike, and layout. In the tuck, pull the knees up to the chest. For the pike, keep the legs straight and toes pointed. In the layout, arch the back, arms and legs back. Nearly everyone on a trampoline wants to do a flip, either front or back. The safe way to learn is by breaking it down into stages and learning one part at a time. To learn a front flip, first do a knee, handstand, backdrop. Then without using the hands. Then from the feet, a front dive. Now from hands and knees, flip to the feet. Then from the knees. Now you are ready to try a front flip. At the top of the bounce, snap into a tight tuck position, chin down to create the spin. Then open up. Kill the bounce on landing until the front flip is mastered. Do not anticipate or lean into the spin when leaving the trampoline. Always take off and land in the center of the bed. The backflip is easier to do after it is learned, but it is harder to learn. Here is the progression for learning. Each step must be practiced many times. Sit at one end of the trampoline and roll over backwards. Push off with the hands. Now from this position, push off. Without bouncing, a back pullover to the knees. Again without bouncing, to the feet. Now bouncing, a back pullover. Now you are ready to try a back flip. Always try it first with a reliable hand spotter or a spotting belt. Of course, no one does it perfectly the first time. Lift the arms above the head. Stop the arms and bring up the knees. Look backward for the bed. Spotting rigs are often used when learning the back flip. The instructor takes up the slack on every bounce. After this is done several times, with confidence, remove the belt and do it without assistance. But be sure to have spotters at both ends. You've seen the basic fundamentals on which all trampoline stunts are based. Learn them well, practice, and you'll soon be doing combinations and variations like these. A whole world of pleasure and recreation unfolds while you are mastering the trampoline.
Glorious. I feel like we had some trampoline experiences at school, but it was very limited. I think that then also when I moved to rural North Carolina, you could tell like that was a big thing in a lot of rural households. They would buy a trampoline for their kids, and sometimes young vandals would vandalize them and slit them, and then there'd be a big to-do about it. So it's kind of interesting. All right, so behind me we have a film scanner, and I have a film set up, and I don't know much about this. That says it's the horse, but the title was tacked on, so I don't know. This came from Buffalo Public Schools, and Buffalo Public Schools sometimes would repurpose a film, or if the title was taken off, they would shoot a new film title and tack it on. You can tell it has kind of the burlap background, which is kind of cool. Anyways, here's the horse. Enjoy.
Among the most valuable animals. In the springtime, they work in the fields. The world, horses' packs. Some horses are highly trained to perform unusual tricks. The police use horses.
Last very long. Sorry about that. Here's backyard Spider's Backyard Science. Enjoy.
Spiders and their webs can be seen in almost every backyard. Only a few spiders can harm us. Most spiders are helpful to man because they eat harmful insects. Spiders are found in many shapes, sizes, all spiders are alike in certain ways. A close look at some spiders will help us tell them from insects and other small animals. A spider's body has two main parts: a head and chest part, and an abdomen. Most spiders have 8 eyes. The eyes are located on the upper part of a spider's head. Some spiders have large eyes and see very well. Spiders have 2 pedipalps. The pedipalps are used for feeling and for holding food. Spiders have 8 legs. The legs are jointed. Like the rest of the spider's body, the legs are covered with short hairs. The legs end in tiny claws. By looking at the underside of this spider, we can see its fangs. A spider has 2 fangs. Its mouth is between the fangs. The fangs are used to put poison into the small animals the spider catches and eats. A spider breathes through small openings on the underside of its abdomen. These are the openings for breathing on this spider. This spider is on its silk web. Near the tip of the abdomen are the spinnerets, with which the spider spins silk. The silk is a liquid within the spider's body. When it reaches the air, it forms a silk thread. The spider uses its back legs to help it spin its silk. This spider has caught an insect. It wraps it in silk from its spinnerets. The silk will keep the insect from getting away. Spun into a web. This spider is waiting for an insect to fly into its web. When a large grasshopper flies into the web, the spider first backs away, but soon runs up to wrap the grasshopper in silk. With its fangs, it puts poison into the grasshopper. Then it digests the juices from the insect's body. This is another kind of spider web. It is shaped like a funnel. Let's see what happens when an insect lands on this kind of web. The spider has felt an insect hit its web and runs to attack it. It tries to get poison into the insect. Finally, the poison works. The spider carries its prey down into its web. Other kinds of spiders do not build webs. This spider waits on a leaf. It sees an aphid and pounces on it. All spiders lay eggs. This spider is holding onto a large egg sac it has made. Inside are the yellow eggs. When the eggs hatch, tiny spiders crawl about. They look like small adults. The poison of most spiders is too weak to hurt us. But the poison of this black widow spider can make people very sick or even cause death. A black widow is shiny black. It has a red mark on its underside. Spiders are small animals. A spider's body has two main parts. They have 8 legs. Spiders spin silk with their spinnerets. They lay eggs. The eggs hatch into young, which are much like the adults. Spiders are helpful animals that can be found in almost every backyard.
What happened? Yeah. Thank you, Norman Bean, for that. So the horse, I repaired the splice, and then I hit another splice, and then I hit another splice, and I hit another, and I was like, all right, that's too much stress. I think what I need is some stress relief. And so that's what this film is. Stress relief. Enjoy. The tension is weird on it, so give me a sec.
Where's the Kendig file? It was just here the other day.
I'll find it, Mr. Bingham. Mr. Bingham, Ed Lewis is on line 2. Mr. Dushan is holding on line 3.
Okay.
Oh, yes, and the people from BVI are here.
BVI already?
Yes, I told you. Your reservation's at noon. It's now 11:45. And you were supposed to meet with Jim Lauderman at 11:30 about the conference call at 2.
Phil, when you get a minute, I want to go over the Kendig thing. Okay. What line did she say he was on?
Sorry, Mr. Bingham, it's your son on line 1. He says it's important. Something about an accident with the car. He rear-ended a van and he's got no insurance.
Gee, come on. I can't believe it. Lousy quarter-inch too short. I gotta move the whole gas tank to fit it in.
Are you still on the Norton car? She's got to have it at 5, and we got 2 more stacked up. I want you to check the transmission on that 4-door, and I want you to drain the crankcase on the 2-tone job. And the blue one, I want you to check the brake linings. Now, that's a rush, and don't give me no excuses. Now, these cars are all moving out of here today, right?
Right. It's no use, Cindy. The credit union turned us down flat. They won't give me a loan as long as I'm out of a job. I don't know what we're going to do.
Jim, we have been through this before. Cindy, Mr. Bingham is waiting for the report. I am almost done. Jim, I am swamped up to my ears. I've got to go.
I'm trying to tell you.
Where's the Kendig file? I'm already late for that meeting.
It's coming, Mr. Bingham. Cindy, we're waiting.
Cindy!
Jim, I have got to go. Cindy, Mr. Bingham is waiting.
I'm Dr. Henry Heimlich. In the fast-paced, competitive world we live in, stress in one form or another has become all too familiar. The causes, they're not hard to see. Faced with the daily pressures of life, many of us may begin to feel helpless, victims of forces that seem to be beyond our control.
Would you look at all these bills? $50 here, $90 there. Where am I supposed to get the money to pay these? I don't have a job. We can't get a loan. And your folks are coming this week for a visit.
Jim, we'll get through it. Now, it's not going to last forever.
No, sure. I mean, just lock me up somewhere till this is all over with.
Stress. It sneaks up on us all when we feel overwhelmed by everyday problems or snowed under by pressures and obligations. But what exactly is stress? Stated very simply, it's a reaction of tension or emotional strain. And each of us, to some degree, is subject to its effects.
Now, if the amount on line 32C is less than 1,000, multiplied by line 3, and subtract by line 32B. Now what did I do with 32B?
Jimmy, will you turn that thing down? Now, that's what you made me do.
Sorry, Carol. Really, Carol, really.
Some stressful situations, such as figuring your income tax, are almost unavoidable. But because crises like these don't happen every day, they do little long-term damage.
These guys are good. City champs, right? Yeah.
Then there are some professions that actually depend upon stress to reach peak performance.
Keep them off the boards. We're going to run our offense, right? Okay, now, when we
we get out on that court, are we going to let these guys walk all over us? No! Are we going to teach those bums a lesson of their lives? Regent! There are even a few situations where stress is not only normal, but vital.
Scared me to death, man.
In a sudden emergency, a certain amount of emotional stress can help us to act swiftly and effectively, provided we remain calm. Again, if we stay calm, this kind of short-term stress comes and goes quickly, without doing us any real harm. But there's another kind of stress that's far more destructive. The stress that keeps on building from crisis to crisis, until there's trouble.
Mr. Bingham, the Syntax meeting has been moved up from 10 to 9:30. Mr. Heckert wants your approval on the draft report. Mr. Nasser hasn't returned your call, and Mr. Dushin's in your office. Here's the report ready for your review. Now, the messenger will be here at 9.
We've got to change page 20 of this report. I'll be in my office.
But Mr. Nasser hasn't returned your call. Mr. Bingham, the messenger will be here at 9.
Mr. Bingham, we have to talk.
Yeah,
Hey, Phil, did you see the sports page? Boy, you're not going to believe it. It was the top of the 7. Fernando was on the mound.
9-3.
Dodgers were just going crazy.
These figures, Bingham, they don't add up.
Bingham, they're waiting for you in the conference. Mr. Bingham, the messenger is here. Mr. Bingham, your wife's online too. She wants to go to
Bingham, if we don't dig up that memo, they're going to sue us for Bingham.
Mr. Bingham, the messenger is here.
Mr. Bingham.
I've got no time. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, good morning. Sorry I'm running a little late. I guess we better get started right away. Step by step and blow by blow. That's how it builds up. Before we recover from one small crisis, there's another, and another, and another. It all adds up to a classic case of chronic stress, and that spells danger.
Do you guys mind if we...
Among the perils of chronic stress are high blood pressure, migraine headaches, ulcers, reduced resistance to disease, and ultimately, stroke and heart attack.
Yeah, but if we take the behavioral test...
Stress has proven to be a leading contributor to fatal heart disease. And as such, it's responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of men and women every year. That's why conquering stress is more than just a question of health. It's a matter of survival. But before we can combat chronic stress, we have to know something about it. So let's take a look at some of its most common causes. Foremost among these are the pressures of time.
Mr. Bingham, we are not interested in trends. We are interested in results. That's exactly right.
And of competition.
We've got to go up in sales, and we've got to have...
The pressures of personal problems. Of overwork. Of long hours and loss of sleep.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I'll call you back next week.
And of bottled up emotions. The truth is that the degree of damage caused by potentially stressful situations depends upon the individual. Two people facing the same situation may react in very different ways. Why is it that one person succumbs to stress while another coasts easily through it all? It's because the key to stress, the cause and the cure, lies within each of us. The effects of stress depend on the way we react to the pressures that act upon us. All of us have known individuals who are dynamos on the outside, but cool as a cucumber inside.
The whole last page. It's not what I dictated. You better reread your notes.
I'll do it again, Mr. Becker.
And we all know people who seem cool and collected on the outside, while inside they're a jumble of nerves. But chronic stress can't be ignored for long. Sooner or later, the warning signs appear.
Recurrent headaches,
Fatigue, insomnia, indigestion, muscle spasms or pains.
what was the date on the letter?
Impatience and irritability.
Okay, and on the 4th, when your shipment... No, make that on February 4th, when you ship... No, scratch that. Let's start all over again.
On recognizing any of these early warning signs, it's vital to take immediate measures to diffuse the stress before it can build to a dangerous level. Here are a few emergency steps that can help you cool off.
Yeah. Well, let me get back to you. Yeah, all right.
First, if you can, just stop whatever you're doing. Take a few deep breaths and consciously permit yourself to relax. If you can, shift gears on the spot. Get out of the office and take a brief walk. There's a very basic way to combat chronic stress. So basic that once you understand it, it may change your life. A visit to your physician is important to rule out the possibility that your symptoms are due to a physical illness, or that an illness may be causing the state of stress. The fact is that in most cases of emotional stress, we can handle the problem ourselves once we recognize the basic simple truth that we ourselves are the problem, and that it's up to us to take charge of our own lives, to change our lives before stress changes our lives for good. All right, how do we do that? When the immediate crisis is past, try taking a good long look at your life. Ask yourself what the things are that are causing you stress, and how you can go about changing them, or your attitude toward them.
I don't know, Phil. Sometimes I feel like just going right up to him and telling him, get off my back.
Try talking it out. Release your pent-up emotions by sharing them with someone else. A professional counselor, a friend, someone you work with, or even a stranger. The experience of communicating or talking openly about your problems and pressures might help you both.
And you come with me and help me out, maybe?
It always helps to stop and listen to your voice of reason. After all, how many of the things we worry about most ever really happen? And most of those that do occur can be handled if we deal with our problems calmly and sensibly.
Hey, you know what?
What?
I have it all figured out.
Really?
We can send them $10 this month.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll send them the balance next month. Give us a little bit of money while your parents are here.
Try getting involved with people. Do something for someone else, someone who needs your help. And somehow, it always seems that your own problems shrink in comparison. Take the initiative and start to reorganize your life. Relax on lunch breaks. Develop new interests and leisure activities. Change your routine. Plan to take long weekends. And whenever you can, resist the pressures of time. Combat hurry sickness by avoiding deadlines that aren't really necessary, most of which we tend to invent for ourselves. Pace yourself. Bring your expectations in line with reality.
Alice, hold all my calls, will you please?
And forget about trying to prove anything, either to yourself or others. After all, as we all ought to know by now, your health and happiness are life's true rewards. Good nutrition, well-balanced meals can help you fight the destructive physical effects of stress.
put the ball where he wants to early enough. He lets the safety get over there, 23. Tony.
Get adequate rest. Fatigue invites emotional tension.
He was responsible for the tight end.
Avoid taking medications if possible. It may help you forget the problem, but it won't make the problem go away. In most cases, you can do it yourself. And of course, get plenty of exercise. Physical activity on a regular basis is your body's very best defense against stress. It's easier than you may think to include exercise in your working day. Taking brisk walks regularly can be a great help. You might try leaving your car or getting off the bus a few blocks from your office. And when you can, use the stairs instead of the elevator.
Simple, isn't it? Oh, you bet. And besides, if stress gets the best of me, how's that going to help my career or my family?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Above all, to avoid the perils of stress, learn to appreciate the positive pleasures in your life and your work.
I finished the Syntech report and I've typed all of Mr. Bingham's letters.
Looks very nice, Cindy.
Thank you.
An enthusiastic outlook toward the things you do can make work an interesting challenge instead of a daily trial.
Cindy O'Neill.
Cindy, guess what? I got the job.
Kidding! Oh, how wonderful. When do you start?
By looking at life from a longer perspective, you may discover a new sense of values. Learn to appreciate that in the long run, the everyday pressures that cause you stress usually aren't that important. Focus instead on the things that really matter, such as personal and family relationships.
Phil, about that Reynolds order. Let's see Alice about that, will you, Steve? Okay. Oh, and Alice, how was the birthday party?
It was great, Mr. Bingham. The whole family was there.
Oh, fine. On that Brodkin meeting, why don't we reschedule it for tomorrow or Thursday?
Well, what about the Kendig meeting at 3?
I'll call him and tell him I'm sorry. I'll just have to get together with him later. Don't worry, Miss Pruitt. We'll get it all done in good time.
Consider that stress can destroy your life. Doesn't your sense of values tell you to step back and take an objective look at how you're reacting to stressful situations? Start today to assume personal responsibility for your own emotional health. Nobody's going to change overnight, but by taking a few simple, sensible steps to self-help, you can begin to cope with the challenge of stress. And in the end, you stand to gain the happiest, healthiest, and most productive years of your life.
Looks like, wow, who'd have guessed it? All right, I think you've earned this. This is a film about vacuum tubes. Enjoy.
Basic in every radio installation is the vacuum tube. Produced in a wide variety of sizes and types, the vacuum tube is the fundamental element in modern radio communication. Radio utilizing these remarkable tubes makes possible effective communication between the air and ground forces. This symbol represents the triode tube with its elements: the plate, filament, and control grid. The cathode may be equipped with an indirect heater. Between cathode and plate is the grid, which is the characteristic element of the triode tube. It serves as a control of the electron flow between cathode and plate. Remove the glass bulb from a triode tube, and the plate becomes visible. Inside the plate, the grid and filament are located, supported by wires embedded in the glass base. This type of tube is equipped with a directly heated cathode. The control grid is seen wound around outside the cathode. In the diode tube, many electrons leaving the cathode move about between cathode and plate, constituting space charge. The triode tube differs from the diode in containing an element known as the control grid, located between cathode and plate. With the grid positive, many electrons pass from cathode to plate. If the grid is given a negative charge, it repels the negative electrons and fewer of them reach the plate. The grid bias may be so strongly negative as to entirely stop the flow of current through the tube. This negative grid bias, beyond which there is no current flow from cathode to plate, is known as the cutoff bias. The grid thus serves to control electron flow from a heated cathode to the positively charged plate. This circuit represents a hookup to test the effect of grid bias on plate current. With the grid negative well below the cutoff point and the plate positively charged by the B battery, no current is seen to flow around the plate circuit and through the milliammeter. We may chart the flow of plate current with changes in grid bias. The C battery is impressing a minus 20 volts upon the grid. Both the milliammeter and the chart represent no plate current flowing. A grid bias of minus 20 is the cutoff bias of this tube. Now, if we change the grid bias to a minus of 10 volts, the milliammeter indicates 1 unit of current flow in the plate circuit. The arrow on the plate current graph moves up a corresponding distance. If the grid bias is made still more positive, plate current increases. We move the arrow further up on the plate current curve. A still more positive grid results in still greater plate current. Another increase in positive grid voltage leads to the saturation of the tube. A narrow range of grid voltage is thus seen to control the entire output of the tube, extending from zero plate current to the tube's maximum output. This is why the grid is called the control grid. The controlling action of a radio tube results in the tube often being referred to as a valve. This hookup shows grid voltage change in relation to plate voltage change. With a bias of minus 5 volts on the grid and the plate impressed by 100 volts, the milliammeter shows a plate current of 2 units as electrons flow from cathode to plate. The grid contains many electrons constituting a negative charge, which limits the movement of electrons from cathode to plate. The grid thus controls current flow. If we change the grid bias from -5 to -3 volts, the milliammeter shows a plate current rise to 3.5 units. A change of but 2 volts in the grid bias has resulted in increasing plate current to near its maximum. In other words, a small change in grid voltage leads to a large change in plate current. Plate voltage change affects plate current. With -5 volts on the grid and 100 volts on the plate, the milliammeter shows 2 units of current as before. Now a plate increase of 35 volts is necessary to increase plate current to 3.5 units. Now if we change grid bias by only 4 volts, a very great change is seen in plate current. We conclude that the greatest influence on the tube output is change in grid voltage. Most military sets use some form of the triode tube. By hooking a transformer to a triode tube circuit, energy may be transferred to another circuit. The tube is connected to a B battery, a C battery, and an alternator. The alternator varies the voltage to the grid. The plate current passing through the primary of the transformer induces a corresponding current in the secondary at the transformer. When the circuit is made to function, electrons pass from cathode to plate when the grid is plus, the flow of current stopping when the grid is strongly minus. The alternator impresses a voltage wave upon the grid. The wave of current in the secondary of the transformer has the same frequency and wave shape as the grid voltage wave. It is of greater magnitude, however. In other words, it is an enlarged replica of the input voltage wave. Thus, the triode tube is an amplifier in that it magnifies a wave without changing its shape. Modern receiving sets of great efficiency owe their effectiveness to the ability of the vacuum tube to amplify waves of voltage and current. Some of these tubes are very small, outstanding examples of scientific engineering. The simple triode tube is actually a complicated electric condenser having 3 capacitances to be considered. They are cathode to grid, plate to grid, and plate to cathode. The capacitance of most importance exists between grid and plate. This capacitance may produce undesired coupling between the input and output circuits. To shield the control grid, another grid known as the screen grid may be added to the triode tube. A condenser connects the screen grid to the cathode circuit. This bypass condenser enables the screen grid to electrically isolate the plate and control grid. The simple triode tube contains but the 3 elements: plate, grid, and cathode. The principal electron flow in the tube is from cathode to plate. Electrons reaching the plate at high velocity strike other electrons, knocking them off the plate. This is known as secondary emission. The introduction of the screen grid adds another positive element in the tube, which may attract electrons. Paths of electrons of secondary emission cut across the screen grid. These electrons coming from the plate cause an undesirable plate-to-screen current. A third grid may be placed between plate and screen grid. This grid is known as the suppressor grid. Electrons flow freely through all three grids, but the paths of secondary emission are shortened by the negative suppressor grid. As a result, the emitted electrons due to electronic bombardment do not extend as far as the screen grid. The pentode tube represents the highest development of the triode principle. Tetrode and pentode tubes are made in many sizes and capacities. Multiple contacts leading to the tube elements characterize these tubes in their many forms. Although their internal construction may vary widely. The older and somewhat bulky military receivers using earlier types of tubes have been superseded by sets much smaller in size. The greater compactness and efficiency of these sets is largely due to their use of the modern pentode tubes. The suppressor grid between the screen grid and the plate in the pentode may be omitted. Instead, what is known as beam-forming plates are substituted. This is the symbol for the beam power output tube. This tube is built with the usual cathode, grid, screen, and plate. The beam-forming plates are so placed as to direct the cathode-to-plate stream of electrons in a beam. Here the stream of electrons carry the secondary electrons, which are knocked off, back to the plate, thereby eliminating the necessity for a suppressor grid. Whether built into great power tubes or into the tiny peanut tube, the principles of the triode tube are basic.
So now you can stop your emails about wanting to see more footage of vacuum tubes. You got it, right? I only have a couple of other films about vacuum tubes, and maybe we'll save that for a special occasion. Maybe a AV Geeks After Dark vacuum tube show. So, thanks for tuning in today. We're going to run long. Yesterday was the 800th episode, but it's also announcing the toe tapping tournament. And we played all the songs from the left bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and recap it. So those of you who tuned in yesterday, you saw it. But this is an opportunity for you to watch and vote. And you email me at skip@avgeeks.com. Wow, what happened? Oh, there we go. There it is. There are the competitors. We've gotten some good votes, but man, there's so many more of you. Like right now, there's more people watching than have voted yesterday. So this is an opportunity to watch these songs kind of back to back and then email us with the results. So this is like 12 minutes, but enjoy. And I should say also that I uploaded just this to YouTube, so you can just watch these if you can't watch them right now. But thanks for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching and participating in the Toe Tapping Tournament 2023. We have 8 songs for you to look at, and they're competing against each other. So Fast Food is competing against Think Metric. Use Your Eyes is competing against People Working with Data. Safety As We Play is competing with Zip Code Song. Good Eating is competing with Magnificent Major. So we'll play all the songs in a row, and then you can vote. You have until April 19th, 2023 to vote on this bracket, and then we'll reveal the next bracket. All right. So we're going to start off with the fast food song.
Now the story here is about a gal who looked great, but she got it in her head that she ought to lose weight. Then she felt guilty about the stuff she ate. Bad diet. You name it, she'd try it. Now her little brother Alex just wanted to be tall, so one day he could play basketball. Bad mood. And he consoled himself with junk food. Now Alex thought Derek was strong and cool, and he came for some coaching every day after school, thought he'd try it.
Hold it!
And they kept it quiet, and then one day Karen spotted Derek and went out of her door. Instantly she was overboard.
Going on here, what's on your mind? We're measuring everything we can find. We'll weigh with the scale, it's fun to do, and we'll count in grams, maybe kilograms too. Measuring the world around us, look at the scale, tell me what does it show? We'll learn more about the things that surround us. The more we measure, the more we'll know.
See how beautiful the world really is. Watch how things work. You can learn new things every day if you just use your eyes.
Hey, look up, look down, look all around you. Tell me what you see. There's so much to be discovered if you'll look carefully. There are different sides of me that form my personality. I work with people and data and things, and each side of me has a song to sing.
Now I can be the kind of people who prefers to work with people, helping you or serving in some way. I prefer to guide and teach you, serve your needs. I'm there to meet you, reaching out to touch you every day.
And I'm the one who likes to sing whenever I'm at work with things. Using things is what I like to do. I work with things of different size, with different uses I've devised. To work with things is what I love to do.
And I feel that there's nothing greater than to work with facts and data. Information is the stuff I use. Investigators gather clues and commentators give the news. Data is the kind of work I choose.
So come along with me and see which of me you'd like to be. People, things, data too. We're all different sides of you know who. We all fit together to make up you.
We're going to practice safety as we play. We're going to practice safety as we play. As we walk and ride and play. When I get to the corner, then I wait. I look in both directions and I wait. To the left, the right, the left. When the sign it says to walk, I walk. When the sign it says don't walk, I don't. I walk. I don't. I walk. We see many, many things as we walk along. We learn many, many things as we sing our song. And we'll be safe and happy as we play. And we'll be safe and happy as we play.
You've heard what we've said. Keep it all in your head. There's no better way. You zip code every day. You know you gotta have a zip code on the envelope. A zip code so you won't just have to hope. A zip code morning, noon, and night, and everything will be alright.
Well, you get faster service and a lower cost. Fewer mistakes, no time ever lost. A lot less handling along the way.
No damage for you to pay.
You know you gotta have a zip code. Yeah, you're out beyond the clock. A zip code, yeah, oh, you won't have to hope. A zip code, yeah, you're morning, noon, and night, and everything will be alright. Well, meet a fella called Mr. Zip.
What he can do for you will really make you flip.
So if you have any further postal demands, we're gonna leave you in his hands. You know you gotta have a zip code, yeah, you gotta a zip code, yeah, you gotta have a zip code, yeah, morning, well, night, and everything will be alright. And now, my friend,
we'll say so long.
We Hogan,
Our zip code song.
we've told you everything we know. It's up to you to make zip code go. You know you gotta have a zip code, yeah, a zip code, yeah, well, a zip code, yeah, morning, well, now, and everything will be on. You gotta have a zip code on the envelope. A zip code, oh, you will now. A zip code, morning, well, now, and everything will be on. Everything will be on. Everything will be
I don't want to have to read the book. Why should I read The Wizard of Oz? I already saw the movie.
Did you ever think you might have a good time reading it?
A good time? Reading? You've been hanging around this school too long. Anyway, I sure know I have. I'm bored, I'm wasting time. What am I doing here? Why do I have to learn all this? It's not very clear. What good is it to me? Oh, what good is it to me? They tell me school's the place to learn what I need to know. But I'm just sitting here while I am waiting to grow. What good is it to me? Oh, what good is it to me? Reading and writing and arithmetic makes me sick. Chemistry, history, it's all a mystery. I don't need no education. I don't need no aggravation. I don't read. Everything I have to know, I can learn from a TV show.
I'm fruit and vegetables, and I'm like meat with food groups. Food groups. You gotta have some of us every day. We're food groups. Food groups. You gotta have some of us every day. I'm in the dairy group, as you see. You gotta eat some of my friends and me. Buttermilk and yogurt too. Cream and cheese, either yellow or blue. We're food groups. Food groups. You gotta have some of us every day. We're food groups. Food groups. You gotta have some of us every day. I'm in the meat group. We've got protein. There's protein in meat and protein in beans. Chicken and fish and nuts and ham. As good as meat, that's what I am. We're food groups. Food groups. You gotta have some of us every day. We're food groups. Food groups. You gotta have some of us every day.
I'm in the green group, you can tell.
Grain and bread can help you feel swell. The cereal, crackers, buns, and muffins. Grain and noodles and grain and stuffing.
With Food Grooves, Food Grooves. You gotta have some of us every day. We're Food Grooves, Food Grooves. You gotta have some of us every day.
I'm a vegetable, fruits and me have a special quality. Eat some of us every day. Carrots or apples, what I say?
We're Food Grooves, Food Grooves. You gotta have some of us every day. We're Food Grooves, Food Grooves.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta have some of us every day. You gotta have some of us every day.
So that's the left bracket, the first 8 films. As you can see, here's the matchup. One more time: fast food, what it's in it for you. Think metric, use your eyes. People working with data. Safety as we play versus zip code. Good eating versus magnificent major. Send your votes to skip@avgeeks.com. Would love to hear from you. And you have until April 19th. That's when we cut it off. Hope to see you at the lunchtime show at 1 o'clock. Enjoy.